Hey everybody, love my pups, my breeder supply. Today we're going to talk about pedigrees. How to read them, what information you can get from them. Alright, so a pedigree is a document that shows all the ancestors of a particular creature. So we used to hit family trees, right? So a family tree would be, here's me, James, and I have some sisters, Sally and Debbie, and they all came from my parents, Betty and Peter, got together and produced them. And my dad had a guy called Roxy with his dad, Mabel with his mother, and they produced my dad. And so it goes on. So we're all used to this, right? There's a family tree. All right. So we do exactly the same thing with dogs. So we do it slightly differently because we get a lot more information and we put it on its side. So looking at this pedigree right here, one of my dogs, we're going to expand on that pedigree. So here we go. So here is Love My Azura. All right. So what information do we have? That pen's not very good. Let's try and find a better pen here. Let's see that pen. So what information do we have on this? Well, we have the dog's registered name. By the way, this is an AKC pedigree, the American Kennel Club pedigree. What this is this says that this dog came from a whole bunch of other dogs that are pure pedigrees. They are, in this case, French Bulldogs. So, Love My Azura. So what do we get? We get an NP number. NP 4397965. That is, it's like your social security number. That is the number that if you went to the AKC and you asked, who's this dog right here, they'd come back and say, Love My Azura, and they could give you the entire pedigree for that dog. Okay. So what else do we get here? Well, it tells us that it's a French Bulldog. It tells us the kind of dog it is. It tells us what the color of this dog is. Grey. And we'll talk more about these things here in a moment. It talks about the date of birth, or the whelp date of birth. So it gives the date the dog was born. It gives you who the breeder was. And if there's any DNA information on this, it'll have that as well. So there'll be a DNA registration number. All right. Okay. So then, this then branches out. By the way, on this document here, no, it's not. Well, there's some important things about this. It needs to look like an official document with a seal on it. It's got an embossed seal on it, so we know it's legit. And on the back of it, there's a whole bunch of 2 to 4 letter codes. And there can be some codes that can go on here as well. For instance, it might say CH, Grand Champion, or Champion, or it might say GCH, Grand Champion. So there's going to be some other monikers that are here. If it's a hunting dog, it might say Field Trial Dog. You know, it may have some other things. You can look on the back and see what those things mean. Okay, so there's that. Now, where does this come from? So this comes from 2 parents. Dad's always on top, mum's on the bottom. So in this case here, and I'm not sure it's particularly relevant if I put these names down, but we're just going to call this, we'll call this Billy and Joe. We don't care. Same thing again. Let's call that Jolene, so we make it act like it's a female dog. All right. So same thing again. We're always going to have a registration number, and most of the time we'll have some kind of a color code. So same thing over here, registration number, color code. All right. So we then have, so these are the parents. Then we have grandparents. Grandparents. So there's going to be a male and a female dog that stand behind Jolene, so we'll call that Bo and Peep. Beep. And we are going to change things up here a little bit. We're going to have Bo and Janie. And guess what? If we have, that's grandparents, now we can have great-grandparents. This is what's called a 3-generation pedigree, great-grandparents. Great-grand. So again, we'll have 2 dogs that stand behind this, 2 dogs that stand behind this, 2 dogs that stand behind this, and 2 dogs that stand behind this. So, father, mother, father, mother, father, mother, so on and so forth. So now we've got a 3-generation, first generation, second generation, 3-generation pedigree. On the AKC site, you can order pedigrees and you can get up to a 3 or a 5-generation pedigree. All right, so what does this tell us? Well, first off, it tells us quite a bit of information on this dog. By the way, this number here, you can then go take that NP number or this name, Google it, and if this is a well-known dog, you will then find some information on the web about this dog. You might find pictures of all these dogs. You may find other pedigree information, but that's if you want to find some specific information, the NP number or the dog's name is a good place to go start searching if you want to find out more information on a dog. Okay, so what does this tell us? Well, first thing is we can get an idea about maybe what colours this is. So this dog says grey. The problem with AKC is there's colours that are not, in Frenchies, that are not show ring colours. And some of those, a lot of those colours like merles, blue and tans, black and tans, chocolate and tans, don't have a moniker for the colour. And so consequently, they won't show the colour correctly. So that can be a problem because if you're trying to find out colours and you want to go back through the pedigree to find out where colours came from, you may have a hard time doing that. But there can be some useful information in this. An example would be that this dog here is called Iceman, Ice Girl, just for the sake of argument. She's called Ice Girl. And guess what? You've got a darn good idea what colour that is. This dog it may say it's cream. All right. Well, it may be a platinum, it could be all kinds of other colours. But the point here is the name that you see here can be quite useful in trying to determine what colours, where this colour came from. All right, so the next thing is, we can see if there's been any line breeding or inbreeding. So in this particular parentage thing here, we can see that we have the same daddy showing up twice. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the genetic diversity that you'd see if there had been different dads completely has got kind of thinned out a little bit. This is not, you know, in this kind of circumstances where you had 2 dads and the grandparents, I wouldn't personally get too concerned about it. Especially if I had 2 parents showing up over here the same, that certainly would not concern me at all because there's a lot of genetic diversity. But you can be in a situation where you've got dads bred back to daughters to produce a dog, or daughters or sons bred back to mothers, and then your genetic diversity really does start to get thinned out. Or you can even have a brother and a sister. So how would that look? So the point here is that you can look at this. And you can do some detective work and you can find out whether there's been any line breeding or inbreeding. And you can also get some ideas about colours, you can get some ideas about whether them say maybe a champions or not. If they're not AKC, they won't have the AKC number. They might say something like Met, which is I think is France. But they will have different codes in here. And you can go look those up depending on where the dogs came from. And if you go very far back in most dogs, you'll find a lot of their heritage comes from Europe or overseas. Okay, so let's give you an example of one that would concern me. All right, we're just going to change these names here. And we're going to call this, I'm going to change this here. Okay, so we've got Joe and Jill. They produce this, but also Joe is over here and Mary. So the problem here now gets to be is these are the same dogs. These dogs are the same. Nothing illegal about this. Nothing that the AKC says you can't do this. You absolutely can do this. But the problem gets to be is that a lot of the genetic diversity has disappeared because all of this is exactly the same as all of this. So it means that half of these genetics and a quarter of these genetics are exactly the same. So you really don't have a lot of diversity. So you've got to look at a pedigree and make sure you don't see the names, same names, or if they're the same names, look at the registration numbers, because two people can have the same name of a dog, Bob, but Bob could be two separate dogs. But if, in this case, Joe and Joe are the same dogs, this kind of thing would concern me. There's reasons why people do this, and I've got a whole video on that. It's to do with line breeding and inbreeding to try to produce a particular quality that you've been developing and keep that, strengthen it and keep it going. And the consequence of this is you can have some wonderful dogs, but you can have some genetic problems too. So, you run a risk. So the point here is look at the pedigree and make sure that you're not seeing the same dog showing up, especially towards the left-hand side. If that's happening like this, that's a concern. If you saw, we're going to go back and we're going to call that dog a different dog, so we'll just put that one as Bill. It's not the same dog anymore. All right, now, but if you saw over here that this dad over here was Harry, and you saw Harry here, and you saw Harry here, and you saw Harry up here, there is only one boy who's standing behind all these dogs that were produced, and that would concern me. So if you see a lot of the same names in a particular generation is a concern. If you see a repetition of a name as once or twice as you get closer to the offspring, that's a concern too. I hope I'm not getting too confusing on this. Okay. All right, let's talk about some other things on this. DNA number. You may well see a DNA registration number. So people get their DNA registration and they think, what if I've got one here I can show you? By the way, we're talking about that. This is the thing that you also get, which is a breed certificate. When you've got a registered dog, you get a breed certificate. That shows you own the dog, and then it's an authentic pedigree dog according to the AKC. I've got my finger over the certificate date, and the reason I've got that is that's like a PIN number. You don't give that out. Somebody's got that PIN number, they could actually pretend like that dog was there. So that's why my fingers are over it. Do not send this to somebody without blacking out, putting a piece of cardboard over, a piece of tape over the certificate date. The NP number is not a concern. You can absolutely give out the rest of the information. People who don't want to give out pedigrees, they're worried that they shouldn't do it. They're wrong. You can give out pedigrees. You should give out pedigree information. So you should give out pedigree information, but you should not give out the certificate date. And then here's an example of a litter registration form. So here's a litter registration form for a dog. So that's something else that you get, and something else that's got some PIN numbers on it, and you want to be a little bit careful about how you give that information out. If you're trying to show somebody a dog has got AKC certificate so they can register the litter, don't give them all the information on that till they've bought the dog, because they may be able to do some chicanery on you otherwise. Anyway, but we were talking about DNA. What's this? There could well be a number here, and people see that. And then I'll ask them about the DNA of their dog, and they'll send me the information they got from AKC. It's not the same thing. That is a parentage DNA. It doesn't tell you anything about the dog's, nothing about the dog at all, other than its genetic marker, so that one can prove that that dog sired particular dogs in the future. That's all it's there for. So a stud dog that is used more than 3 times in a year or 7 times in its lifetime has to have a DNA on file with the AKC. You have to spend $40, you send a swab in, AKC does a DNA analysis, they keep it on file, and they send you a record of it back. It doesn't do you any good. Females, typically you don't see that very much unless it's a imported dog, and then as of the last few years, you have to have a DNA sample done on those. And the reason they're doing that, it's very good, is to make sure that these dogs really are pedigreed and that we can prove that they have pedigree dogs standing behind them. Somebody asked me the other day about conditional registration. And a conditional registration is a dog that was imported, that they don't yet have a 3-generation pedigree on it, so they're conditionally allowing it to be part of the AKC clan, but that condition could be removed if the 3-generation pedigree doesn't stand up. And that's an interesting thing. Let's say that Harry here was in fact not a French Bulldog. Somebody had done some cheating, and it was something else, a Chihuahua. I don't know what it is. But the point here is, that could then invalidate this entire line of dogs that stand behind this dog. These dogs here could lose their AKC status. So dealing with a person who's being honest and forthright is pretty important, because you could get in a situation where you bought a dog that had AKC registration and you get a letter from the AKC that says, sorry, but little Maisie that you bought, she's no longer a registered AKC dog. That'd be a bad day. Okay, so what you get a pedigree, what does that tell you? Does that tell you the health of the dog, the quality of the dog, it's susceptible to diseases, its ability to have offspring? No, none of this stuff. The AKC pedigree just tells you who the parents were of this particular dog, their grandparents, the great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, who stands behind this dog. It does not tell you anything about the quality of the dog, its ability to win championships, none of that stuff. Look, if you see a dog and it's got CH champions all over the place, then you've got a pretty good bet that probably is a pretty well pedigreed dog. Don't see that very often, by the way. But the more champions you have, especially in the closer you are to the actual dog itself, the better chance you have that this dog really, you know, it's got offspring, he's had parents who've won shows. So that means something. Okay, what else do we need to talk about here? I think that probably covers it fairly well. Yeah, so there we go. Hey, so please subscribe to us. Go check us out, mybreedersupply.com. We have wonderful products that will absolutely help you have healthy, successful litters. And hope you enjoy, look after your dogs, and be good. Bye.